This podcast is a proud representative of The Wellness Company. Go to twc.health/alternate take for all your wellness needs and type in the promo code alternate take, one word, for 10% off. You guys, in today's world, health has never been more important. In fact, it's one of the coolest subjects we've been able to touch on here at Alternate Take, and we've gotten some amazing guests to have discussions with, including Dr. Peter McCullough, who you all know as probably the most famous doctor in the world ever since his episodes on Joe Rogan. He is the Chief Scientific Officer of the Wellness Company, and nothing goes through this whole company without his knowledge. If it's certified by Dr. Peter McCullough, it's certified by us. The Wellness Company is unequivocally and unapologetically standing up for medical freedom and the right to affordable health care. This company has always put the patient first. If you go on their website at twc.health, you'll see all natural products and everything that's going to make you a better human being. Guys, let's get healthy before we even get to the hospital, before we get serious problems. This is the place you got to go. Go to the website, twc.health/alternate take, promo code alternate take, one word, for 10% off, and thank us later. Get healthy, guys. Your family's dependent on you. What up, everybody? This is Alternate Take, and today we brought you the tremendous, the amazing Brandon Gibson of Jackson Week MMA. How you doing, sir?
Good, man. But quick thing, I'm no longer with Jackson Week MMA.
Oh, really? How did I not?
Yeah, I was there for 20 years, man. It was. I got a lot of gratitude and love for the team, but yeah, about 2 years ago, we kind of parted ways.
Oh shit! I didn't even know that. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So now you have your own private practice.
You know, I work for Jon Jones. I work for Aaron Pico, and I'm trying to get some more belts for those guys.
That's the best, man. Obviously Jon Jones is considered the GOAT, and Aaron Pico is actually from my neighborhood. We're both from Whittier, which is
I love it.
Yeah, pretty cool, man. I mean, we used to hear stories about him when we were kids and shit. Like someone ding dong to his house, fucking see if he kicks your ass or something. But he was like a couple years younger than me, so I never saw him. I used to see his older brother a lot. His older brother was dating my neighbor growing up. I remember that.
Okay. Patrick's the ladies' man.
Yeah, I used to see him in my house all the time. It was for my next door neighbor's house. But that's great, man. You've had a huge growth as a trainer over the last, I would say over the last 5-10 years has been very noticeable as an average fan. Like I think if you were deep in the MMA game, we know who Brandon Gibson is for a long time. But if you're like an average kind of casual fan, like you still were very noticeable over the last 5-10 years because of the growth of an Aaron Pico and Jon Jones. How much has that meant to you, man, to see like your fighters, your two guys, man, just fucking really killing it on every front? Like it's been incredible to watch.
You know, it's amazing. There was a time in my career where I was training a lot of fighters. I was gone, maybe like 40 weekends a year. I was coaching fights nonstop, watching film nonstop, training nonstop. And, it just kind of takes a toll. And I felt like I had to kind of really rebalance and prioritize who I wanted to give my time and my energy and my effort to. And, I love Jon. Jon's like a brother to me. And when I met Aaron, I knew that he has all the potential in the world. So I'm in a really good spot right now, as a trainer, as a coach, just giving my all to two athletes. Like, hats off to the guys that can balance a big gym and tons of fighters on the roster and tons of matchups. But that's just not my approach.
Yeah, it sounds very difficult. One of our favorite guests on here is Eric Nixick from Extreme Couture. Hell of a guy. Actually, I talked to him before this. He mentioned how much of a good guy you are, and Eddie Baracco and those guys. And and it's crazy their schedule that they have. They have so many fighters there, and they got families, they got kids, they got podcasts they're doing. I don't know how they can keep up with it. It's truly impressive, but I actually like your approach better, and I think it says a lot too about your approach that it's not like you just have two casual fighters. Like, when Jon Jones is already, his reputation succeeds him. Everyone knows about Jon Jones. But like with Aaron, I mean, you had dudes like, like a Brendan Schaub calling him the LeBron James of MMA coming in. Like he's already had that title coming into MMA. So to have two guys like that, one considered the best of all time, one considered like the, like the young superstar of today's generation, that both of them trust you and to have so much like respect for you, I think is the coolest thing in the world. I read a Jon Jones quote about you where I just thought it was really cool. I don't, do you mind if I read it to you?
Go for it.
He said, I consider him my Boudini Brown. Boudini was Muhammad Ali's corner man and right hand man. He knew Ali best. This is what Brandon is for me in my career. He's a phenomenal coach, a phenomenal friend. He has a great spirit towards martial arts and life in general. He's a great example for me for his work ethic and the way he is as a father and a husband. Brendan is an all around great example, and I'm really glad to have him in my life and with me in my career. What does that mean to you, sir?
It's humbling. We've all grown up together in this game, and I would say the same thing for Jon. Like John's helped me become a better man. Carlos Condit helps me become a better man. Aaron Pico's helped me become a better man. And it's just not all about fight night and the wins and losses. It's like every day being with these guys that are so disciplined and driven. I see how much they sacrifice, and I see how much they believe in me as well. So it's humbling, and I'm grateful all the time. And I try to give those guys my best. I never want to let them down. So I study. I try to be a better coach every day, a better technical pad holder every day, and a real good fight night cornerman, like giving good instruction, seeing the adjustments, and like John said, nobody knows him better. In some ways, that's like his playbook. I know him better. I know his defense styles better. I know what he does in both stances better than anybody. So that also takes a lot of work, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. I really do think the relationship between a fighter and a trainer is just like so unique because um, you can see things that the fighter can't see. And it's like that it's that old phrase, what's you're too close to the elephant. You ever heard of that phrase?
Mm.
Yeah, it's the best. It basically, if you're this close, it just looks like a big great dick. You don't even know what you're looking at. But someone 10 feet behind you is like, there's an elephant in front of you, buddy. Pay attention. Like, so you can like, but only a trainer can see that. Like, there's a big problem in front of you, and I can see it, and this is how we're gonna navigate around that.
Mhm.
And I love that relationship with the trainers and the fighters. What kind of growth have you seen from John over the last 5 to 10 years? I mean, like obviously he's made progressions in his regular fighting from light heavyweight to heavyweight, and now he's been such a role model over the last five years. He had all this crazy stuff early on in his career, but now it seems to be like on the right path, and he's just so likable now as a fan favorite. Like, what kind of growth have you seen from him as a fighter and as a person, and how those kind of coincide?
You know, uh, it's probably about 3 years ago now at this point that we left Jackson Link and we kind of built our own program and team around John. And it's been really good because the guys that are there are all there for the right reason. They all love John. They're all committed to the goal. This is my cat. Sorry. Um, yeah, everybody's really committed, and it's helped us grow closer together as a team and also be a little more free, to try some new techniques, um, try some different approaches. And then we've had this just like amazing guest list of superstars come in to help us. And I think part of that is like creating a welcoming environment, so guys like Gordon Ryan and Gable Stevenson and Joseph Parker and so many great training partners have come through. And it's been a really cool experience to build that up around John, right? It's not a mega team where everybody has a fight this week or next week. It's like everybody in there is dedicated to John. They're trying to give the best look for him. They're all trying to push him. We all pray together. We all eat together. It's something really special. And so there's been a lot of growth in that. And I think it's shown in his fights over the last few years. Like since that move, we fought, went up to heavyweight. He totally rebuilt his body in a different way. Fought Surreal Gone, and then 2 weeks before the original date for Stipe Miocic, he had his injury to his shoulder and his pec, and then we all stuck together, a long road back to recovery, and came back stronger than ever, and showed that in the fight in November. So it's just been really cool to see John's growth, our team's growth, and everybody becoming better men through it.
Yeah, I I think the growth in both ways has been tremendous to watch. I think you guys definitely did it the right way physically too. I mean, you took your time, built up the muscle, built up the strength, make sure his technique doesn't suffer, and it's been very impressive. I mean, like, and it was weird how some people were doubting it. Like, can he make the move? I'm like, bitch, have you seen his brothers? Like, this guy's he's a Jones. What are you talking about? He can get big. Like, it just
Hmm.
it's in his DNA. He just needs a little bit of time. Got to do it the right way, and have people, the right people in his corner, which he clearly did. And, it's been so fun to watch at heavyweight. I mean, I think to be honest with you, it's crazy that if you see it, if you just got into fighting and you just saw Jon Jones now, you would never think like that guy used to be a light heavyweight because he just looks so natural there. He's a really big and strong dude.
Hmm. Yeah, he really did do it right, and we're proud of him. And I know he can go toe to toe with any heavyweight in the world.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of that, all the big rumors are versus Tom Aspinall, obviously. Um, what kind of stuff do you see in Tom that are interesting to you to see as a coach that you may say, okay, that's different. I need to prepare a little bit differently. Obviously your guys' track record is undefeated. You guys are the best of the best. But are there certain things that you respect about Tom that that you guys are noticing up in front?
Oh, absolutely. Like I won't dive into like the technical things I see in him, but just he's building up his aura, right? He's undefeated. He has that confidence. He has the interim championship. He's calling out the goats, and that confidence comes with a lot of strength. So that's something I respect in a younger undefeated fighter, and it's something we need to be aware of. And yeah, it's interesting to see his reaction as time kind of plays out on this negotiation. I think you kind of see waves of his emotion.
Interesting.
And I'm sure it's a frustrating position to be in. I know he's probably ready to go and ready to fight, but at the end of the day, John's the one with the undisputed championship belt, and John's the greatest of all time. And John will do things on his terms, on his schedule.
Yeah, and I think no one should disagree with that, to be honest with you. Like that's the way it should be. And it's always been that way in the fight game, even in boxing for years. Like if you, the best will choose when he fights somebody else. Like it doesn't. There's no like you don't just get it just because you're asking for it. It doesn't really work that way. So I like it better that way. I think it's the right way to do things. I think it just makes sense. And I mean, I think everyone's just excited that it's just going to happen. I think Tom's been very respectful of John. I think, at least publicly, with interviews, he always says like, I think he's the man and I respect Jon Jones, but I want to fight him. I think that's good to hear too. Like at some
Yeah,
point the shit talking is kind of just like it's only meant for certain people that appear to be natural when they're doing it. And I think when people are just respectful or something, I think that's actually a lot cooler sometimes. Like I'm like, that's good. Like now it's a war. Like and it's gonna be a war because it's a gentleman war. Big difference.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes when it gets real ugly trash talking, it doesn't always bring the best out.
No, there's some cringy ass press conferences. You're like, all right, enough of this shit. Please, please stop tormenting me. Unbelievable. But that's great. Yeah, I'm excited for everything John's doing next. And I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter what happens at any point in his career. He's gonna be going down as the greatest of all time, and it's pretty apparent. For Aaron, what's next for Aaron? I know obviously there's a lot of issues with him trying to get to different fighting, corporations. What is the next move for Aaron Pico?
I think we all want to see Aaron Pico in the UFC. I think the fans want to see it. That's where Aaron wants to be. That's where I want him to go. I want to see Aaron up against the undisputed best 145ers in the world. And the situation with PFL has been frustrating. I hope it looks positive that there's going to be able to be a way for him to work it through. And I just can't wait to see Aaron back in the cage in 2025. He is in great shape. He's hitting harder than ever. His wrestling's grappling is better than ever. So I can't wait for Aaron to get out there and just showcase his skills. And there's so many dream matchups in the UFC at 145 for him. I just want to see him in that mix, right away.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what's going to be exciting when that does happen. The all the available fights he's going to have. I mean, that division is stacked, and it's not like he's a brand new guy. Like he's been fighting for a long time and very
Mhm.
high competition. So that I hope is enough. And considering his name recognition will be enough to give him some good fights to start off. And it's going to be exciting. Like, what would you say Aaron does that's different than most fighters that sticks out to you as to why he's so special and has such a bright future?
Well, his wrestling accolades, speak for themselves. I mean, he was a world champion, representing the United States, traveling the world, all through his teens. It's incredible the level he was at. And if Aaron wanted to be an Olympic gold medalist, he could have been, but he chose to go the route of MMA. His boxing pedigree is unbelievable. Same thing. He was a teenager sparring Miguel Cotto at the Wild Card gym. It blows my mind. And just to see him put it all together and become a true mixed martial artist is really, really impressive to see. His work ethic, his IQ, it reminds me a lot of John, just everything he puts into the game. And, he's just a great dude. But one of the things that I think he does different is his ability to blend his striking into his wrestling and his striking into his body shots. You don't see a lot of pure body punchers like Aaron in MMA. And, he has a whole highlight reel of just ripping dudes with liver shots. And that technique, that arsenal that he has is only grown over, his time away over the last year. So I can't wait for him to get back out there and really test these guys' livers.
Yeah, that's it's a really good point you made. I think his ability to change levels with his striking is unparalleled. Like you don't see that at all. It's a boxing trait you see more often than you see an MMA trait. But it's so apparent with him. Like the way his feints and the way he moves and to get to the top to the bottom. It's very incredible. And his jujitsu is great. Like I think it's very very interesting to see where it goes from here because I honestly, I think he's already the best 145, and I'm biased as hell. Like Whittier
Yeah,
boys.
Whittier.
That's how we
Yep.
are.
I think he's the best 145er in the world too, and I know it's just a matter of time for us to show it. He's 28. I think there's some critics of Aaron when he was just so young in his career, fighting outside his weight class, fighting super tough veterans. Like, it takes a while to learn this game, and even though Aaron had world class accolades in wrestling and boxing, it takes a while to learn MMA and the defense and the range and how to put it all together. And now at 28 years old, I mean, everybody's seen the tear he's been on in Bellator. I mean, we pretty much went the last 5 years undefeated, with the exception of the injury against Jeremy Kennedy. And even with one arm, Aaron was still in great position that first round. I wish I could have gotten that shoulder back in the socket in between the round. But Aaron's just on a tear right now, and we just got to keep this momentum going and carry it into the next matchup, wherever that may be.
Yeah, you're right. And I think the cool part to see it all go down is like I think the fanfare is already there. That's the cool part is like he had huge fanfare coming in as a young kid. Like again, there was a lot of hype already. And then, the small little setbacks weren't even a big problem to his fanfare at all because once he started getting better and better and better, it just kept growing. Like he's a very humble guy, super likable. Um, and that's the coolest part is like so when these fights do start happening, it's gonna be not only big money, everyone's gonna want to watch. You're just gonna the fighters he's fighting are gonna respect him too. It's a cool thing to see as a fan, 100%.
Yeah, I'm excited for Aaron. He has a bright future ahead, and we just, it sucks to sit out for any professional athlete, but I hope PFL can get their schedule together, and the UFC's putting on shows just about every weekend, so I can't wait to just see Aaron make that walk again and get back in the mix. Hopefully,
Absolutely.
it's soon. Hopefully, it's this spring or summer.
Absolutely. Um, Considering you have the level of fighters you have with Jon Jones and Aaron Pico, what are things that you do to be able to push them that you feel like you must do as a trainer? Considering, these guys aren't in any way egotistical or like in any way like arrogant. But that being said, if when you're told all the time you're the best, like that's sometimes it's very easy for natural to just to put your foot on the brakes a little. I know that they're very good at not doing that. They're obviously professionals and the best of the best, but what do you do to make sure that you're challenging them at every level, pushing them through new exercises, new training things to get them always thinking on their toes so that they're always hungry for the next fight, no matter how great they really are?
Well, and that's it. Like they're hungry for the next fight, but they're also as hungry for knowledge, right? That's how they get to this level. They have that curiosity to them. They have that will to want to master new techniques. So sometimes it's about making sure you give them options, techniques, movements, strategies that are within their style to continue to push them and develop them. Sometimes it's going back to the foundational blocks and keeping it sharp, remembering what got you to the dance. Um, sometimes it's about studying, sometimes it's about being inspired by like the next generation of fighters and what they're doing. Um, Sometimes it's about being inspired by some bad dude on the other side of the globe that you might get matched up with one day, and being prepared for that, even if there's no immediate matchup. there's a little bit of everything in testing these guys. And sometimes it's about just keeping the room light and fun and making practice a place where you want to be.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think that's a very wise observation of you because if you've played any sports in your life, you've had a barometer of coaches. You've had pretty hard ass ones. You've had maybe like players coach type people. You kind of if you played any sport, you've had a good mix of it all. But I think at the end of the day, the best coaches are the ones that know how to adapt to their clientele at the highest level in the sense of like, okay, I could be harder on this guy because honestly, he responds to that better. Like, like he may be a little annoyed at me, but I know that actually I get better out of him when I do that. And he actually responds to it. He gets angry and he knows how to use that anger. There's some other people who are like, that doesn't work. He just gets annoyed and he just shuts off and he doesn't really learn the way I would like him to learn. Or this exercise specifically is a lot better for him. It's better for his framework, his athletic ability. Like he can actually use this in a fight. This one be kind of useless. And I think that's honestly why you're such a respected coach because I think you know how to identify what your fighter is on every level, on a physical level, on a technical level, on an emotional level, psychological, and then you work with what they got, and
Mhm.
that's the name of the game.
Yeah, man. And I learned just as much from the fighters as they probably learned from me. And there's so many things I've carried from training guys like Alistair Overeem or Cody Garbrandt or Cowboy Cerrone that, now later in my career I'm applying to Aaron Pico, which is cool as I develop and grow in my own career to start taking these little gems and jewels through my experience and see how I can kind of reapply them and refit them into other fighters.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. Um, do you ever look back and just think like, man, like I when I first started, I couldn't imagine having the fighters I got and the situation I'm in. Like, I think that's just like a really cool thing to sometimes like not to look back all the time, but sometimes to go fuck like when you were started as an MMA coach, there's no guarantee of money, there's no guarantee of work, there's no guarantee of clients, no guarantee of none of that shit. It's like what made you keep going to now be where you're at? You're Brandon Gibson, you got the best fighters in the world.
Yeah, it's been a long road and a lot of sacrifices in that. And I'm grateful to the fighters that believed in me and coaches like Greg Jackson that really believed in me and gave me opportunity. And it's kind of funny looking back. There was a time in my early career where I was coaching like a fitness kickboxing, like mostly women, and I would do that on Fridays and Saturdays, and then Monday through Thursday I was holding pads for young amateurs and young pros. And I remember the the team at the cardio kickboxing gym, who I got a lot of love and respect for. There's a lot of things I learned in that gym on how to like lead a big group and motivate like a big group. And anyway, but they were like, you're doing your family a disservice by teaching for free Monday through Thursday. You should be here teaching cardio kickboxing Monday through Thursday, making more money for your family. And I was just like, no, one day I'm going to be a high level coach. Like that Monday through Thursday is my investment in my future. Friday, Saturday, and I was just paying some bills with some skills I have. But so sometimes the that vision of like I'm gonna coach a UFC champion. There's a lot of obstacles in between that, and to get there and to develop the skill to get you to that level takes a lot of sacrifice, and there's not going to be money in it. It's a lot of labor, it's a lot of sweat, it's a lot of pain, and but if you stay the course, you might end up there, God willing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's funny because I mean, I've interviewed a ton of people on here now, and from every realm, from comedians to nutritionists to like whatever, sports legends, and every one of them kind of has a very similar outlook or very similar like style of what you just portrayed, where it's like there's not going to be money in the beginning, and it's like you can't look at it that way, and you have to just be excited about getting better and learning your craft. Like, and the crazy part is like having if you have any support during that, like like that's that's the woman of your dreams or that's your friend or whatever. Because anyone who believes in you when you haven't gotten it yet is like that's just like a huge blessing. Like most people, a lot of people don't have that. They just have only themselves, which is cool. But either way, I think that's the most impressive thing is like I always ends up working out for people like you. Always. Like it's so weird, but it's a consistent theme, like from everyone I've interviewed who's successful in whatever realm, that they were just like, I'll do shit for free. I don't give a fuck. It's for the love of the game. I'm in it, and this is what I'm passionate about. And It doesn't matter if you're in it for sucking toes. Like that's if you're passionate about it, you'll probably go pro someday. Like it doesn't matter what it is, but
Yeah.
I think that's just so cool, man.
Yeah, there's no shortcuts in it, that's for sure, man. It's especially something as like real as MMA, everything gets exposed. So like if your skill level's not there, you can't bullshit it.
Yeah.
You know, the guys will know, or you'll get kicked in the head, missing the pad if you just
Yeah. Was there any like external like motivation that you got? Did you ever like have like a maybe a book that clicked or a certain record or band that you really listened to like when you're on the up and up or maybe like a mentor that you had that really was like specific into like, your growth as a MMA coach?
Yeah, I definitely had some really strong mentors, Greg Jackson being one of them. I'm fortunate that I walked into his and Mike Winklejohn's gym when I was young, and yeah, I had a bad leg break fracture in the gym one day, and that's kind of what took me off the path of fighting and into the path of coaching. And it sounds silly, but even when I was young, I loved to watch HBO 24/7,
Yeah. Oh,
and
that was so
especially
good.
like, yeah, those legendary ones, like Pacquiao coming up, and I remember I would just like record them and then replay the mitt combos that Pacquiao and Freddie Roach were doing. So Freddie Roach was one of those guys I always looked up to, and then now I've been fortunate to meet him a few times and actually coach at like train John at the Wild Card, and um, so those are surreal things of like people I idolized that I got to meet down the road and kind of sharing my thanks.
Yeah. Oh, dude, those 24/7s were the shit, man. Those are, they
Mhm.
only created those because of Mayweather. I believe Mayweather actually pitched it at an
Mhm.
HBO meeting or something. It was like, we don't have like we need to get people more engaged and like they started doing 4-part series or episodes for every fight leading up. They were so good.
So good.
Yeah, it was the best. I remember watching like the Juan Manuel Marquez versus Pacquiao ones or De La Hoya Mayweather or yeah, Cotto Pacquiao, whatever. It was just so damn it was intense and Liev Schreiber doing his thing. I didn't even know that was Liev Schreiber for years. I didn't know it was Ray Donovan. It was crazy.
Yeah. And like I've been a lifelong martial artist, so obviously I was like always in the gym and with fighters. So I would see that, but then to kind of see how it was documented and portrayed on TV, it was just like this is a beautiful sport. And they'd always highlight the coaches too and show those relationships between the coaches and fighters. And I think it was something that even though at the time I was a fighter, it was something that really inspired me to maybe become a coach one day.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny that you mentioned that like it's more than just like a sport. Like our last guest was Jim Lampley and like
Wow.
yeah, just the goat and hearing him talk about um we were talking about the beauty of just boxing and how it's like it's more than just a fight. It's more than just a violent sport. It's like a sport of love. And then he went on this really cool monologue about like elaborating. And then I'd mentioned like perfect example of that. It's Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti, and like hearing him speak about it and get emotional and like I was like fucking hard. It's hard not to cry right now. Jim Lampley, I'm not gonna lie to you, sir, because he was just so passionate about it. And like the fight happened so years ago and it didn't matter. Like that is what martial arts is. It's pain, but it's love, it's mentorship, it's you developing it in the sport, being the young person and giving back to the next people.
Mhm.
It's going to war with somebody and then being his friend later, like them. Like that's it's a really cool thing because it's so relatable to life in almost every avenue. You don't have to even be into fighting to get the analogies and the metaphors and whatnot.
I love it. I think it's just the most beautiful sport, and the relationships I forged through it, I know are lifetime relationships. Like me and Bones are going to be playing chess together when we're 70, and me and Pico are going to be riding horses, and me and Carlos are going to be out shooting guns. Like it's a different type of bond to go into that kind of battle with somebody, be in the trenches with them like that, looking at them in between rounds, and so much on the line, and yeah, it's cool.
I love that. Well, since you mentioned that you had your, people gave you your chances at certain gyms and you did that. Does anyone ever come up to you and try to shadow you or try to be your little protege or whatnot?
I don't know if I've quite had a protege or an apprentice yet, but there's definitely some talented younger coaches that I've got to work with. Alex Existo is a great Muay Thai striking coach. Aaron Soriano, a great boxing coach that they help out with John. And not that I'm their mentor or they're my proteges, but I've tried to guide them, and they have tons of skills and unique approaches that inspire me as well. So yeah, maybe as I get a little older, right now I'm like just so private with my coaching. There's not a lot of people in there, but one day I think these old shoulders and elbows might need an apprentice.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a cool like eventually like result of your hard work is like you I think the people that are the best always feel young at heart. I think they always want, and by young at heart I mean like they always think that there's more to learn. Like they're never really
Mhm.
satisfied with where they're at. And I don't mean that like in a bad way, like they're unappreciative. I just mean
Uh,
more that like they're just always hungry, even when they're old, 67 years old. But there's always a time when there's someone who comes across their plate who maybe reminds them of them a little bit, and that young hunger that they had when they were young and were trying to get into the game. And it's probably just really like endearing and also kind of cool. Like fuck, like I didn't even realize how much older I am, and I guess I am because this kid is. He reminds me a little bit of myself, and he's hustling. So I think that's just a cool thing that probably happens in every MMA coach's career. At some point, someone's gonna come in and look at you like, holy shit, like Boondini, and be like, God damn, like I want to learn from this fucking guy. Like I was with Brandon Gibson and Jon Jones, and they're telling their friends, all that stuff. So it's cool how it all comes full circle.
that is maybe
Yeah,
that'd be
yeah.
cool.
You got any kids in martial arts or anything like that?
Yeah, I have three sons, and yeah, they don't compete, but they all know how to scrap. That's for
Yeah, yeah.
sure. They love to go to the gym with me and do the workouts alongside John and Aaron and sparring each other. And yeah, I know how important martial arts is for just my development as a man. So I really wanted to, as a father, share that with them.
Yeah, that's kick ass. I think that's so cool, man. I mean, even if you're like a guy, I learned boxing from my old man, and he learned from a really great trainer, Rudy Hernandez, who's actually a cut man for the UFC. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, Rudy's a legend. But his brother was Gennaro Chiquinito Hernandez too, and I mean, it's just so cool to learn these things, and you don't have to be like an expert, but just to push yourself a little bit and whatnot. There's nothing better. So what's next for Brandon Gibson? Tell me what's next. What's on your? Do you have any upcoming things coming up? Whether it be
No big fights are booked right now. But we're training hard with Bones. We're training hard with Pico, and hopefully in the next few weeks we have some big fight news to announce. And I'm very fortunate. Next month, I'm actually going to be flying out to Paris. I'm going to teach three seminars, one with the legendary John Charles Skarbowski, and then the next day with the MMA Federation of France. So I'm looking forward to just, getting to travel and share some of my skills and make some new friends.
hell yeah, dude. That's cool. Be safe out there. Fucking Paris is nuts, man. It's a crazy fucking place. But it's a great country. I would imagine it's really fun to go and learn some martial arts and teach. So that's great, man. Dude, thank you very much for spending time with us, man. I know it's Friday, you got family, you got kids. I like to keep everything compact, 30 to 45 minutes, not fucking waste your time. And I had a great time talking to you, buddy.
I love it, man. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to chatting with you some more.
Yeah, man. We'll do this again after Aaron Pico gets on a fucking tear at
Yeah,
145, baby. That's right. I'll
repping
try to get Aaron on
Whittier.
here too. I
Yeah,
gotta get him on the pod.
we got a special move we codename Whittier. So maybe one day you'll hear me yell it and then see some guys sleeping.
That'd be sick. Sounds good, man. All right, well, thanks again, dude. Take care.
All right, thank you.
All right, this has been Alto Take. We'll see you guys later. Peace.